Welcome back to the Making International Law in Korea video series. In this video, I'll be explaining to you on legal status of North Korean defectors and their human rights issues. The North Korean defectors refer to those who fled North Korea and do not have an intention to go back. Generally, it is difficult to generalize this issue because their motive to flee, legality of entering the third state, and countries where they are staying after defecting, final destination of their wishes are still different for each case. Also, it is hard to figure out exact numbers of North Korean defectors since they usually enter the third country by an illegal route. Currently, it is estimated that the number is as few as 30,000 and as many as 300,000. An absolute majority of the North Korean defectors remain in China. Most of them, let's say about 75%, are women who became target for human trafficking. Children do not have fixed residence and often live as street urchins. When North Korean defectors work, they are treated differently in their wages, and there are many individuals who work without wages for the reason that food and accommodations are provided. Most North Korean defectors who cross the border of China are considered as illegal aliens. Therefore, when caught by the Chinese police, they are forcibly returned to North Korea. For this reason, North Korean defectors always stay in hiding and cannot seek proper protection even when they are assaulted, unfairly treated, or even sick. From the perspective of protection of North Korean defectors, the most concerned issue is whether they have status of refugees under international law. China became the state party to the convention relating to status of refugees of the 1951 on September 24, 1982, and the protocol relating to status refugees of the 1967. And Republic Korea is also state party to both treaties. According to the convention, a person who deemed a refugee when he or she is outside the country of origin because of a well-founded fear of being prosecuted and or for reasons of the race, religion, nationality, and membership of particular social group or the political opinion. China sees North Korean defectors as illegal migrants who fled North Korea for economic reasons, or just regard them as illegal entrants and have been arresting and sending them back to the North Korea, refusing involvement in this matter of Korea or international organizations such as the UNHCR or international community. Furthermore, China is pursuing Chinese people who have North Koreans within China as criminals by amending criminal law. The North Koreans who just fled simply for economic reasons or North Korean criminals fleeing after committing a crime cannot obtain the status of refugees, but it is strongly asserted that many of the North Korean defectors belonging to that status of refugees within the meaning of the convention relating to the status of refugees. North Korea classifies the social ranks and treats each rank of people differently. Usually, North Korean defectors came from the unprivileged classes, in particular, the hostile classes under the Seongbun system, class system. Thus, these defectors can be deemed to be refugees based on membership of particular social group. Also, the fact that they fled North Korea itself can be regarded as having political opinion betraying the North Korea and thus could be subject to punishment. With this reason, it can be deemed that North Korean defectors are in danger of persecution on the ground of the imputed political opinion. They can have the refugee status in this case as well. China does not examine the case individually in a refugee determination process, but rather forcefully send defectors all together back to North Korea. Chinese repatriation of defectors to North Korea can raise the question of whether it violates Article 33 of the Convention relating to the status of refugees and the peoples of the non-refoulement in Article 3 of the Convention against torture and other cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment or punishments of the 1984. In year 28, the Committee Against Torture expressed a grave concern on Chinese deportation of North Koreans. Even if the convention relates to status refugees of 1951 does not apply to North Korean defectors, they can still be protected under the protection of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, in short term UNHCR. Article 35 of the Convention relating to the status refugees of the 1951, to which China is a state party, stipulates an obligation of state party to cooperate with UNHCR, which has been operating its branch office in Beijing since 1995, pursuant to a special agreement with China. The so-called mandate refugees or persons of concern to UNHCR that are subject of the UNHCR protection include not only conventional refugees, but also war refugees or humanitarian or de facto refugees. When considering the reality of North Koreans in China, they deemed to be persons of concern to UNHCR and under its protection. As a matter of fact, UNHCR decided in 1999 that some of the North Korean defectors are persons of concern to UNHCR. China, however, does not allow UNHCR to have an access to North Koreans and to have any activities to protect them. Concerning the legal status of the North Korean defectors, their nationality is a controversial issue as well. Under the Korean domestic law, North Korea is a territory of Republic Korea that currently is out of reach of the sovereign power of Republic Korea. Thus, North Koreans are recognized as Korean nationals. If they are recognized as nationals of Republic Korea in China as well, Korea will be able to exercise towards China a right of diplomatic protection on them. However, China, that sees two Koreas as separate countries, does not have an obligation to recognize South Korean nationals for North Korean defectors. It is too obvious that the North Koreans should be protected under international human rights law, even if they are unable to be protected by the international refugee protection systems. They should be given protection under international human rights law that is usually given for the foreigners or the stateless persons within China. Many North Korean defectors have settled in South Korea and are called the Bukhan Ital Jumin in Korean, meaning a resident who renounce North Korea. They are not discriminated under the Korean law, but due to the linguistic and cultural differences, they form a group of minorities in the society, which in turn make them vulnerable to neglect and or disrespect. Armed conflicts occurred on the Korean Peninsula in the early 1950s has raised a number of international important legal issues, and Korean War posed many legal issues, especially related to international humanitarian law, such as the legal characteristic of the armed conflicts and applicability of rules of engagement and legal meaning of a long-standing ceasefire. Armistice Agreement was signed May 27, 1953, and such demarcation line did not extend into the maritime area. And the seaward extension, known as the Northern Limit Line, which was drawn by the UN Commander General, has remained contentious and caused confrontations between two countries, as the NLL was not officially part of the Armistice Agreement. Some key inter-Korean issues, among others, include statehood and recognition, as well as legal characteristics of agreement signed by the two Koreas. An issue arises from the provision of the Constitution of Korea, which stipulates that the territory of Korea shall consist of the whole Korean peninsula, while two Koreas were respectively admitted to the United Nations at the same time.